Okay, steps to legally start your startup. Step number 1 is choose your business name. How do you do that? Let's say I want my company to be called Startup Mindset, Inc. What do? Do I just pick it? No, you need to do some research. First, conduct a simple Google search or ChatGPT it. Second, search the name on the Secretary of State website to ensure that no other entity with the same name has been registered, because simply you would not be able to register that entity under the same name. And here is the link to the website of the Delaware Secretary of State. Here we are on the Delaware Secretary of State website. We type our name, Startup Mindset, we search. No records found. Perfect. Sometimes it doesn't go through on your first attempt. You just do it twice and you want to see no record found. It means that no other company has been registered under the name that you want to register your startup under. Then perform a trademark search on the USPTO website, United States Patent Trademark Office. Here is the link. Consider a more advanced search conducted by intellectual property lawyer. We call them IP lawyers. While it's not always necessary for a startup founder to conduct a more advanced search, with the help of an IP lawyer, it can be a wise choice in certain circumstances. For example, if your company's success depends heavily on the uniqueness of your brand or the protection of your proprietary technology, conducting a thorough search for existing trademarks, patents, or other IP might be a good call. Next step, let's go to United States Patent and Trademark Office. Search trademark database. Here we are, search trademark database. First, let's do basic search. Startup Mindset and submit. No records. Perfect. It means that I potentially can register my trademark. Second step is choosing the entity type and a state of registration. Two most common entity types are LLCs or limited liability companies and corporations. Let's break them down. First, an LLC or limited liability company is a legal business structure in the United States that provides its owners, we call them members, with limited liability protection, which means that you, as an owner, is generally not personally responsible for the company's debts and liabilities. This structure offers flexibility in terms of management and taxation. If you plan on running a small business, I recommend forming an LLC in the state where you reside. And to put everything in a simpler way, like we're 5-year-olds, an LLC is like when you and your friends make a lemonade stand together. You all work together and share the money you make. The good thing about an LLC is that if your lemonade stand has problems, owes money, you and your friends don't have to use your own money to fix it. Things you own are safe. The second most popular entity type is a corporation. A corporation is a legal business entity that is separate and distinct from its owners. Owners are known as shareholders. To use our example with kids, a corporation is like a big team that works together to run a business. It is a separate person in the eyes of the law, which means that it can own things, make deals, and even get in trouble, just like a real person. The people who own the corporation are called shareholders, and they have special protections. So if the corporation has problems or owes money, the shareholders don't have to pay using their own money. A group of people called the board of directors helps make decisions for the corporation, and they are chosen by the shareholders. Unlike an LLC, the corporation has to pay taxes twice. Once the money it makes, and then again when the shareholders get some of that money. And just to have a visual for you, corporation and you is like two separate people. It's like you and your baby. You are not the same person. Then the question comes to what entity should you choose, LLC or corporation? Corporation is like a big team of people with lots of rules to follow. It has a boss, the board of directors, and you just have a lot of formalities. LLC is like a small group of friends with lemonade stand and less formalities and procedures to follow. And the taxes, as I said, corporation pays taxes twice, when the corporation pay taxes, and then when the profits are distributed to the shareholders pay taxes. With LLC, the profits flow from the LLC to the owners, to the members. And the members, meaning you, the owner, you only pay taxes. LLC doesn't pay taxes. So which one should you choose, corporation or LLC? It depends how you want to run your business and whether you want to raise venture funds. If you do want to raise venture funds in the future, go with a simple, plain vanilla Delaware corporation. And if you're based in California, you just register that business in California. If you are not planning on raising outside money, then you can consider forming an LLC to pay taxes twice because the profits will flow to you. So the answer, LLC or corporation, depends on whether you plan to have a startup with a lot of growth, expanding globally. To grow fast, you would need that outside financing. You would need venture funds. If you're planning on running small business, you're not planning on a lot of growth in a short period of time, you're not planning on raising outside money, then LLC might be a right choice. At this point, you've decided on the entity type and are ready to register your startup. As mentioned in the previous section, if you want to raise venture funds, you're better off registering a Delaware corporation. There are a couple of ways to do it. I'll go through each of them so you know your options. First, you can do it yourself. Second, you can engage a service provider. There are many of them. Third, you can hire a lawyer. First option is DIY or do it yourself. What do you need to do to register your corporation yourself? First is engaging a registered agent. The primary purpose of a registered agent is to ensure that there is a reliable and consistent point of contact for receiving legal notifications and other official communications from the state government, Secretary of State. There are multiple service providers on the market out there. It really doesn't matter, but for example, I use Harvard Business Services. They charge $50 per year per company, and that's not sponsored. Second is to prepare the incorporation documents. First, certificate of incorporation. It's called charter. This document officially creates your corporation and includes important details like your company's name, stock structure, and purpose of your corporation. Second is action by the sole incorporator. This document confirms the appointment of the initial board of directors, which you should remember is the boss of the corporation, and approves the bylaws. And here is our next document, bylaws. These are the rules that govern how your corporation operates, such as how meetings are held, how directors and officers are chosen. Next document is initial action by directors. It's called unanimous written consent. This document records the first decision made by the board of directors or the boss, like approving stock issuances or adopting an equity incentive plan. And the last step is filing the certificate with the Secretary of State. Delaware Secretary of State has a convenient online form. You can just upload it there, and I'm going to show you how to do it in the video. I'm going to show you how to file your certificate of incorporation with the Delaware Secretary of State. You open Google and you type Delaware Secretary of State. You press. Here is the official website. You scroll down and you find Document Upload Service. And to submit a business entity filing a certificate request, click here. Then you press Document Upload. Then Document Priority. I usually choose 24 hours. It's only $50. I prefer having my entity formed faster. Submitter name. You put your own name, then address. It's a made up address I'm putting here. San Francisco. State, California. You put your email address. Then document request type. It's document filing request. File upload. Here you will upload your certificate of incorporation. Save it in the PDF form on your desktop. And I'm going to show you how the certificate looks like. So here is our imaginary startup mindset corporation that we're forming. I am the sole incorporator, and I state the purpose of forming the company, the name, then registered agent, Harvard Business Services, and their address. This is right here. All of this is super standard. Then this is where we authorize in shares of common stock. We usually authorize 10 million shares, and par value, it's either 3 zeros or even 4 zeros after the period. Then all of the standard language that you will find in my incorporation package. Then the incorporator. If you're incorporating your own incorporation by yourself, this is going to be your contact information, because if you purchase incorporation package, you will have my information here. I'm going to be a sole incorporator. Then I put the date and signature. It's really important here not to use your real beautiful signature. You just need to insert the name. That's how the Delaware Secretary of State likes to see the filed certificates. Okay, so we can come back. We uploaded this certificate in PDF. They wouldn't accept Word document. Then you put the entity name, Startup Mindset Inc. Document type, certificate of incorporation. Then number of certified copies. I usually put 1. And if you, for example, reside in California, you would have to register your Delaware corporation that we're forming right now to do business in California. For that, you need certificate of good standing. So check this good standing. So you will get, in addition to stamped copy of the certificate of incorporation, you will get a certificate of good standing, which certifies that you have a Delaware corporation which is in a good standing with the Delaware Secretary of State. Meaning good standing means like everything is good. You paid everything that you needed to pay. You legally exist in the state of Delaware. And I usually choose regular mail, continue, proceed. And here you just add your card or ACH and you submit your request. After you've inserted your credit card or ACH information, you press submit your request. And that's it. You file your certificate of incorporation online with the Delaware Secretary of State.
You can register your startup yourself. Of course, you just saw the steps, it's easy, but I recommend having a lawyer sign off on all of the documents you will prepare, especially the certificate of incorporation, before filing it with the Delaware. As I promised, I'm telling you how to do things yourself so you can minimize legal budget, but it's still prudent to have a lawyer to glance through that and approve it. For example, for me, it wouldn't take more than an hour. And so whoever you hire to sign off on the documents that you downloaded and filled out, have a lawyer to take a look. It's not going to be too expensive for you. It shouldn't take more than an hour. This is optional step, registration of your Delaware corporation in California. If you have a Delaware corporation while you as a founder are based in California, you would need to register to do business in California. And here's how you do it. First, you obtain a certificate of good standing from the Delaware Secretary of State. This document certifies that your corporation, a Delaware corporation, is in good standing in Delaware. Second is to file a foreign qualification application with the California Secretary of State. This application can be filed online or by mail, and it will require you to provide information about your corporation, including name, principal office address, and Delaware entity number. You will also need to appoint a registered agent in California who will receive legal documents and other official correspondence on behalf of your corporation in California. It's similar to getting a registered agent in Delaware.
Now we have our Delaware C Corp registered. How do we register our Delaware C Corp in the state where we reside? For example, I'm the CEO and founder of our imaginary Startup Mindset Inc., the corporation we just registered in Delaware. I reside in California, so I need to register my Delaware corporation to do business in California. It's going to be foreign corporation doing business in California. It's called foreign. It means out of state, meaning out of state where I reside, out of state, out of California. So how do we do that? We go to Google, we type California Secretary of State. First thing that I want to check whether the name I chose in Delaware, Startup Mindset, is available in California. Yay, it's available. Nobody else has registered that name. If somebody did take that name, I would have to come up with a separate alternative name to do business in California. So I would still have my Startup Mindset Inc. in Delaware, but for California, I would use a different name that hasn't been taken. Then we will go to BizFile Online. You need to sign up if you don't have an account. I already have my account that I'm gonna access and sign in. Then I will press register business.
And here we are. We skip LLC because that's not what we have. We have stock corporation initial filings, and we choose registration out of state corporation. Out of state, as I just explained, it means out of the state of California. Because our corporation is registered in Delaware, it's out of the California state. File online. Okay, I have read and agree. Read before you agree. Then you type your name. You previously reserved the name. I haven't, which is fine. And I type the name of the corporation that we chose and registered in Delaware. So here's this thing. You check this box if your corporation name is already taken in California, hence it's not available. That's not our case, but if it is the case with you, then you would have to check that box. Then the corporation is formed in the United States, specifically in Delaware. Here's the certificate of good standing that you need to obtain from Delaware. Remember when we were registering our Delaware C Corp, we requested 1 copy of the stamped certificate of incorporation plus 1 copy of certificate of good standing. So once you receive that certificate of good standing, that's when you can register your Delaware corporation with the California Secretary of State. Let's assume that we already received it. So that is the PDF form that you will have. Then you just add the address, your address, and this is my imaginary address, San Francisco, California. Your mailing address, that's where you will be receiving correspondence. Francisco, state, California, zip code. Okay, attention, if for example apartment is not registered under your name, and to make sure that the correspondence comes to you, you would need to insert your name. Next step is agent for service of process. Basically, that person will receive correspondence from the California Secretary of State. You can designate yourself to receive all of the correspondence, but I don't recommend that because you would be using your personal address that will be publicly available and you don't want people to know where you live, where your house. It's recommended to go with the California registered agent. So you press here. And then you see you need to certify that you selected registered agent and that registered agent has agreed to provide services to you. How do we do that? We find California registered agent. California registered agent. Honestly, it doesn't matter whom you choose. It should be not more than $50 a year. So it's California registered agent service. That's what I choose. And I just press get it. You insert name of your corporation. Business type is corporation. Are you changing registered agents? No, because we just engage in it from the beginning. And they will be forwarding mail to you. And then you will fill out your address, information, payment details, and submit the order. So once we've done that, by the way, make sure you don't press any additional services. They might sell you something. Make sure it's $50. It's just the registered agent service. That's all you need. Submit the order. Once you do that, you come back and you certify that selected registered agent, which is California registered agent, has agreed to serve as the agent. Then you need to specify California registered agent, search. Okay, we have 2. Let's just make sure that the address you see here, this is the address, Sacramento. So this is the registered agent that we engaged, and we notify the California Secretary of State that this is our registered agent, and all of the communication from the California Secretary of State will go through that registered agent that we just hired, and they will forward all the correspondence to you. Next step, usually filing option. It means that once you file what we're filing right now and they review, your Delaware corporation will be registered to do business in California. So I usually put current date. And here you will just make sure that everything is correct. Here, your name, email address, that you attach the certificate of good standing, that this is correct one. Your address is correct. This is our registered agent. you're a corporate officer and you authorize to sign on behalf of the corporation. And I usually obtain a certified copy of this file, and just in case you need to bring it to your bank. Standard service option. I go with standard. In Delaware, I do choose 24-hour option because it's only $50, and once my corporation is registered, I can do business. California registration is optional. Then you choose file online. You see there are some mistakes. Let's make sure that we've done everything. You need to add your signature, and you honestly just type May 2nd, 2020. Or you can press today. Save. Right? Next step. And here you will just pay with your credit card, and that's done. Your Delaware corporation will be registered in the state where you reside and will be allowed to do business there. If you don't want to draft documents yourself, you can purchase my incorporation package, allowing you to focus on other aspects of your business. Here is how you can purchase it and what it includes. You go to my TikTok account and press the link in bio to Stan Store. There are helpful materials there, and one of them is an incorporation package. You can go and read what is included there, such as preparation and filing of the certificate of incorporation, bylaws, action by incorporator, and all the other documents. There is 1 hour of consultation and a couple of things not included. Step number 4 in registering your corporation: obtaining an EIN and opening a bank account. You need an EIN or employer identification number, which is a unique 9-digit number issued by the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. It is used to identify your corporation for tax purposes. You can obtain it in 2 ways. If you have Social Security number or SSN, then you can do it online. Here is how to do it. This is how you're going to obtain an employer identification number, or EIN, online if you have Social Security number. So let's go to Google, apply for EIN, and we're going to go to an official IRS website, apply online. And here you can see an option, apply online, close, begin application. We have a corporation. That's exactly what we've registered with the Delaware Secretary of State. Corporation, continue. Add your physical location of the corporation. Then you add the legal name of the corporation. Keep in mind that here you cannot add Corp, Inc., or anything like that. Then where the corporation is located, you locate it in, for example, if it's in California, you choose the city, the state. Where the corporation was registered, it was in Delaware. When it was registered, you will know this date once you get the stamped copy from the Delaware Secretary of State. But it's usually because we purchase 24-hour turnaround, you will know the month even before you get the stamped copy back. So closing month is December. It's usually December. It varies, but in 99% of the cases it's December. And if you purchase my incorporation package, it's going to be December. Then you will read whether any of this applies to you. Usually it's not. And the last part is important. Do you plan to hire any employees? If yes, then yes. If no, then no. Sometimes startups, they hire consultants in the beginning, so they are not planning on hiring W-2. But check with your specific circumstances. What does your business organization do? Take a look. You will need to choose. For example, we're doing consulting. And we are doing startup consulting. Startup consult. And you choose receive letter online. Then you will confirm all of the information and press submit. If you're international, you don't have a social security number, you can apply via fax or phone call. And here's a video how to do it. How to obtain an EIN without a social security number, or SSN. You will learn right here, right now. Let's go to Google and you will type apply for the EIN, kind of similar to what we did before. We're going to official IRS website, www.irs.gov. And here, you remember, apply online. We
can use it if we have social security number, but if we do not have it, so let's go to how to apply for an EIN. And here is our option. Apply by fax is the best option if you don't have social security number, but your corporation is based in the US. For example, you registered your corporation in Delaware. In order to obtain an EIN in that case, you would need to fill out SS4 form and attach the certificate of incorporation that the Delaware Secretary of State sent you back and fax it to the IRS. Let's go and fill it out. Okay, legal name of the entity. Our imaginary name is Startup Mindset Inc. Trade name, if it's different from Startup Mindset, which is not in our case, then you include your address. This is our imaginary address. This 4B applies only if you're based outside of the United States, but if you're based in the United States, then you can just type your city, San Francisco, California. Perfect. Name of the responsible party, it will be you. Because you don't have social security number, you can say foreign. Is this application for an LLC? It is not. It's for corporation. B automatically doesn't apply. If AS is yes, but it's not yes, so it doesn't apply. Then we put type of the entity corporation. If a corporation named the state where incorporated, it was Delaware. If it was a foreign country, then we will put it here, but it doesn't apply. Reason for applying: started new business. Date when the business was created, whatever the date when the Delaware Secretary of State, whatever the date of your official registration of your corporation, you would need to put it there. So when the Delaware Secretary of State returns you the certificate of incorporation, on the stamp, there will be the date. You can also check the date on the Delaware Secretary of State website. Okay, closing month of accounting year, it's usually December. If you expect your employment tax liability to be less than 1,000, then you check here. So it depends on whether you're planning on hiring employees. Employees are those people to whom you issue W-2. Sometimes startups hire consultants in the beginning, so you wouldn't have any employment tax liability. So basically, the explanation is here. Your employment tax liability generally will be 1,000 or less if you expect to pay 5,000 or less in total wages. If no wages, no tax liability. This is not applicable if there are no wages, but if the wages were paid, then you would need to specify the date. 16 is checking the box to identify the principal activity of your business. Check all of these options to see whether something is applicable to you. For us, it's consulting, for example, and we put other. Principal line of business, merchandise sold. So this is meant to provide more detail about the principal activity of your business. You don't have to fill it out, but would be, I don't know, fundraising, consulting. Have you ever applied for an EIN? No. Third party designee, this is the part you would need to fill out only if you do not apply for an EIN on your own behalf. If you're using a lawyer or an accountant. For example, if you purchase my incorporation package, I will be applying for an EIN on your behalf, and there will be my information here and your information here. Because in this example, I'm showing you how to apply for an EIN yourself. This will be empty, and you will put your name and title, for example, Christine Subotina. And the title is Chief Executive Officer. You will put your phone number, you will put your fax number, and you will sign and put the date. And after that, you take this, you take the certificate of incorporation from the Delaware, and you send it to this fax number. Let me show you. Right here. You fax it to Internal Revenue Service, attention EIN Operations, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45999. And this is the fax number. Attaching two things, fill out and signed SS4 and the certificate of incorporation. And that's how you're going to obtain your employer identification number if you don't have social security number.
Once you have your EIN, then you can open a bank account. You can choose any bank you want, and they require certain documents. Their requirements vary, but here are the documents that most of the banks require. First is the charter or certificate of incorporation. Attention here, you need a stamped copy mailed to you by the Secretary of State. Once you get it, you bring it to the bank. Second document you might need is bylaws. This document outlines the rules and procedures that govern the corporation's internal operations. And bank sometimes requires you to print that document. Then the EIN, you need to provide this number to the bank. Another document you might need is resolution of the board of directors. This document authorizes the opening of the bank account and designates the individuals who are authorized to sign on behalf of the corporation. Last but not least, you need to bring some identification documents such as driver's license or passport. Optional requirement that some banks need you to bring, for example, for Delaware corporation doing business in California, you will need to bring the proof of your company's registration in California. And such proof could be a certificate of good standing from the California Secretary of State. Step 5 in registering your startup is to issue stock to founders. It is important to issue stock to founders, and even if you are a solo founder, you still need to issue stock to yourself because you are separate from your corporation. So why is it so important? Because founders suffer economically from not receiving stock in incorporation. At the time of incorporation, company's equity is generally worth very little. Newly incorporated companies generally issue stock to founders at prices well below $0.001 per share. As time passes, the stock generally becomes more valuable, especially once the company takes outside investment. High-quality investors will expect that a company worthy of its investment has issued stock to its founders, subject to vesting, and founders have assigned all relevant intellectual property to the company. Therefore, it's best practice that a company formally issues and sells stock to its founders at the time of incorporation. How do you do that? So founders should enter into a written, restricted stock purchase agreement with the company. This agreement should clearly describe vesting schedule and acceleration provisions. Acceleration means that the vesting of your stock gets accelerated upon the company's sale or the founder's termination. If there are more than one founder, how to divide equity in a startup? First, determine each founder's contributions. You will want to take a close look at what each founder brings to the table in terms of skills, experience, resources, and other contributions. This might include things like financial investments, whether one of the founders invests money in the company, technical expertise, or valuable network of contacts. Next, define each founder's roles and responsibilities. This can help to ensure that founders' equity share aligns with their level of involvement and effort. Last but not least, consider future growth and investment. For example, if you plan to seek outside investment, it's important to ensure that the equity split is attractive to potential investors. And at the end, you have to negotiate and agree on a fair split. Once you have clear understanding of each founder's contributions, roles, and future expectations, you can begin negotiating and agreeing on a fair split of equity. This might involve dividing the equity equally. However, you need to be aware that a simple equal equity split can have unintended consequences and require tense reallocations later on. To avoid it, I sometimes recommend that one of the co-founders, usually a CEO, gets slightly more shares. Practical advice. Frankly, founders need to talk among themselves. It's an early opportunity to clarify roles and expectations among the team members. Lawyers can provide data on how other startups have allocated the shares among the founders. I generally authorize in the certificate of incorporation 10 million shares of common stock at the beginning, and then I issue around 8 million shares to the founders. One thing I want to clear up, because many founders get confused, they think that 10 million shares of authorized common stock, that's the number of shares that we need to use when we promise a certain percentage of equity to employees, consultants, and advisors. Let's take a practical example. We authorized 10 million shares of common stock. We issued 8 million shares to 2 co-founders. And then you promised 1% of company's equity to startup advisor, let's say me, your startup advisor, lawyer helping you with fundraising. So how many shares are you going to issue to me? Is it going to be 100K? No, that's not right. 1% we have to calculate from 8 million shares, outstanding shares of common stock issued to founders, not 10 million authorized shares of common stock. So if you promised to issue 1% of common stock to me, you will give me 80,000 shares of common stock, not 100K. So let's pretend like 2 co-founders building a unicorn. How do we want to call it?
So let's go with startup mindset. So we think there's a real problem in that dogs are being exploited by lots of companies who use them to get their marketing done, but don't really compensate the dogs properly. And so Ginger, who's clearly doing this out of his own free will.
Okay, so now we're on the investor side. Let's imagine I am, I don't know, what, A16Z general counsel. I need to inspect all of the intellectual property, and he's one of them. So basically, from the investor perspective, I represent a VC fund investing in an early stage startup. I look into the following documents. First, I will go ahead and go to the Delaware Secretary of State and make sure that the entity has been created. If it was an LLC, I will push really hard to make that company convert into a C Corp. I will make sure you guys in good standing. I will check the certificate of incorporation. The next step is I go to the folder with all of the stock purchase agreements. I make sure that founders got the stock, and I will make sure that there is enough unvested shares. So at least 2/3 of shares should be unvested, because I want to make sure that the founders will stick around after I put the money in, because I don't want them to take the money and just like say, good, bye, see ya. And if the shares have been almost vested, I will make sure we will put it on the revesting schedule. Then I will go ahead and make sure that 83B election has been filed, because that could result in a big tax liability. I would actually go and check the stamped 83B election letter from the IRS. And another thing, I would check the IP assignment from the founders, because I want to make sure that I'm invested in the company and I'm investing in the asset and the people. I want to make sure that the founders have assigned that to the startup. And on the investor side, I frequently was in situations when it was not properly done, and that is absolutely crucial that it's done properly. If any founder excluded any IP from the assignment, I will check that out. I will make sure that it's not related to the company's business. And that is it, honestly, in the beginning. From the legal perspective, these are the things that I will be pushing for. Delaware, C Corp, stock issuance, vesting schedule, 83B election. Yeah, and I will just go through your documents to see whether there are some things that are unusual. For example, whether you're paying yourself too high salary for a seed startup. Also, I will make sure that all of the employees and consultants, they signed the written agreements with the company. Because one thing that founders definitely have to assign the IP, but I want to make sure as an investor that everyone whom you hire, that IP belongs to the company. Because if you have a CTO and that developed the whole company's platform and no agreement in place, guess who owns that platform? Not the company. So these are the things that I would be very careful about when due diligencing a startup. Okay guys, that is it, and that's how you legally start your startup. We went through all of the steps, and you have a choice to do it yourself. And I said I genuinely do not recommend that, because that's, to be honest with you, not something that you should spend significant time on. And if you don't spend significant time on this learning, the chances of making mistakes just high. You can hire a law firm, you can purchase our startup launch package. If you have any questions, please let us know. We share legal tips and mindset tips for startups on TikTok, Instagram. Find us, and
Best of luck with your startup.
yes. Woohoo!